Hola! Welcome to my channel, The Golden Stitch. My name is Alejandra and I'm a Mexican living in Scotland. And today's video is episode number 3 of my knitting podcast. I hope you're doing well. If you've never been here, welcome to my channel. This is a space where I like to document my journey as a beginner knitter. I only started knitting at the beginning of this year, so I've been creating these videos for you to see what I've been working on, and also sometimes I share videos about pattern roundups of things I find inspirational and sharing my experience of all the things I'm knitting. So if that's something that is interesting to you, I invite you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Today is just a regular knitting podcast following a traditional format of finished objects, works in progress, and then at the end acquisitions. I also have a little section at the end of books, so if you're interested in reading, you can stick around. So it's been a while since I recorded my last knitting podcast. I believe it's been about 2 months. So I have lots of things to share with you. I've been just super busy and I haven't had the time to sit and record. And also I haven't had much time to edit videos. So this is coming in a little bit late or later than I would have wanted. But first, starting with finished objects. I have 2 finished objects to share with you. And the first one is this sweater that I feature in, I believe, one of my pattern roundups that was for spring patterns inspired in cherry blossom. So the whole theme of these, the whole reason why I recorded that video is because this was the inspiration behind it. I've been obsessed with cherry blossoms. Here in Scotland is the beginning of May and they're still in full bloom. We've been lucky this year because usually if it gets too windy, they just get blown over. But we've been having a really good cherry blossom season this year. And I've been super happy to see the cherry blossoms around. And the choice of color for this sweater was inspired in cherry blossoms. So the yarn that I use for this project is Isager Silk Mohair in the shade, I have my notes here. The shade is 27, which is this beautiful baby pink. And the pattern is the Frederic Sweater by Kolibri by Johanna or Johanna. And it's this beautiful all over silk mohair sweater. You hold one strand and a very loose gauge to create this beautiful open gauge sweater. And I've been using it a couple of times. To be honest, it's not a sweater that I plan to use as a staple or as a everyday use. It does require you to think a little bit more what are you gonna layer below it, but I still love it. And because I was so obsessed with the idea of having like a cherry blossom sweater, I think this fulfilled that crave that I had. So about the pattern, this is a drop shoulder construction, which is very similar to my Stripe Hype sweater by Veronika Lindberg, which was my first sweater that I knitted. And it is very similar in the sense that it also starts with a square on the back panel, and then you pick up stitches for the shoulders, you shape the neckline, and then you join in the round, all plain stockinette, and then you finish with the half twisted rib touches like in the hem, the collar, and then you pick up stitches for the sleeves. These are very puffy sleeves, so you knit up straight until you do the decreases, and then finish with the decreases here, fast decreases to shape these balloon sleeves, and then finish with the cuffs. To be honest, I haven't even blocked this sweater because I didn't feel the need for it, but perhaps I should. But I've been wearing it like this. I wore it for a tulip field event that I went to, and I really enjoyed it. I think the spring weather that we get here in the UK is a good weather to wear a sweater like this because it's still a little bit chilly, but then you get beautiful sunny days, and I still get a little bit cold because I'm originally from Mexico, so the hot weather here in the UK is not really hot for me. I still feel like I need a little bit of layering on my arms because there's always like a little bit of wind. So I think this is very wearable in this season, and I'm super happy with this project. For the yarn that I use, the Isager Mohair, I heard really great comments about this Mohair, saying that it was super soft and it was good for sensitive people, for sensitive skin people. And I agree. I completely agree with this statement. I've been able to wear this next to skin without any issues. For reference, I don't think I'm an extremely sensitive person, but my first sweater that I needed, I use PetiteKnit, and I do find it very scratchy around my neck, so I struggle sometimes to wear it. I still wear it, but I use usually like a crew neck, like a turtleneck or something below, so it doesn't touch my neck too much. And whenever it touches my skin directly, I find it very itchy. And even if I wear like a thin layer underneath, I also find it a little bit itchy. I still wear it, but I do feel annoyed by it, if that makes any sense. So having that as a reference, I didn't find this any itchy at all. I do think it's super soft, and it doesn't peel that much compared to other mohairs I've been using, I'm gonna talk about later. So I will definitely recommend this yarn, Isager Mohair, and I understand why it is a popular choice, and I wish they had more colors, but I will definitely use it again if they have the color that I need for the future projects. And the pattern was also very easy to follow because I had the experience of knitting the stripe hype sweater. It was a very similar construction. I didn't have any issues, but I also saw that the designer updated the pattern, and I think it might have been because of the sleeves. I think the original pattern maybe had too many stitches to pick up. I actually haven't checked what was the updates that she did, but I have the suspicion that it might be that. I knitted before the update, so I still have like the super large sleeves. I don't mind them. I quite like a puffy sleeve, as long as it has a cuff, because I don't like when they flare too much. I like the look, I just don't find it very practical. So if it has a cuff, then I don't mind the balloon sleeves. I really like that. So yeah, so check out, if you have this pattern, check out the update so you need the latest version of it. But I do recommend this pattern. I think it was easy to follow. It wasn't holding your hand as much as Veronika Lindberg, which is the only other designer I had previous experience knitting her patterns. It assumes a little bit more knowledge. So perhaps for a beginner, you need just a little bit more experience, maybe 1 or 2 sweaters before, so you know what she's talking about when picking up stitches and stuff like that. But other than that, highly recommend this pattern, and I think it's doable for. So for the cost of this project, for the pattern, it was €6.99, which it's around 609 pounds. And then for the yarn, I ended up buying 5 skeins. I barely broke into the 5th. I used only 4.2 skeins, but I consider the 5 skeins as the total cost. And including shipping, it came out to 54.7 pounds, and that came to a great total of 60 pounds 79 pence. It ended up being quite an expensive project if you consider that I only used 5 skeins, but I found the Isager Mohair is very expensive, at least in the area where I live. So it is quite a splurge, but I think it is worth it because it is really soft, and I will definitely buy it again if the color works for the project that I'm going to be working on, because the color selection is not very good. So yeah, definitely recommend the pattern and recommend the yarn. I'm really happy with the result. And then for my second finished object, it is the one I'm wearing today, and it is the Salty Day sweater by Veronika Lindberg or Kika. I bought this pattern back in December when she was having a sale. So I bought this along with the other pattern, the Stripe Hype sweater. I bought them together. So it was on sale when I bought it. And then I also got the yarn that I used for these, the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the shade Rust when it was on sale. So I was lucky to complete this project in a decent price. But let's talk about the pattern. So this is also a drop shoulder construction. So far the 3 sweaters that I've knitted so far are drop shoulder. I'm really excited to experiment with other types of construction. But this one, unlike the other 2, instead of starting with a rectangle, it starts with a trapezoid. But you also pick up stitches for the front, and then you shape the neckline and the sleeve holes, and then you join in the round, and then you continue knitting in the round. But what I really enjoyed about these is how it has different sections where I was able to experiment with different techniques. It has a section of ribbing, it has a section of lace, and then my favorite one was this cable section in the middle, and then it has more lace and more ribbing. The part I didn't enjoy that much was so much ribbing that was in this pattern. If you've seen any of my videos before, I'm still struggling a lot with the ribbing. And specifically for this one that is 3x1, I can't remember, it's a 2x1 ribbon, so 2 purls, 1 knit. I found that my knit stitches were opening up a lot. So for this sleeve, I ended up maybe redoing it like 4 or 5 times because I wasn't liking the way it was looking. For some reason, when I changed to the smaller circumference for the sleeve, it was opening up even more than when I was knitting the rest of the body. And I wasn't really liking the look. So I went down a needle size. I believe I needed the rest of the garment in a 5mm. And then I ended up going on a 4.5. But then when I was going halfway through, I found it was very small and the decreases were just creating a very small sleeve. So I went back and picked up more stitches. I believe I picked up for the larger size. And then first I was like, maybe instead of doing the decreases, I can do like a balloon, similar to this, like a balloon sleeve. But I also didn't like the look of the balloon sleeve because then after knitting straight, it came to this little lace section, so that wasn't fitting quite right. It was creating like a weird shape, so I redid the sleeve again, and I ended up just following the pattern, but in the largest size, and that turned out to be okay. I just don't think I would choose in the future a pattern that has so much ribbing on the sleeves because I wasn't a huge fan of the look. And I actually saw a video of Cozy Books and Knits. I think her name is Helena, or I forgot. I'm gonna pop her name on the screen, but she's one of my favorite knitting YouTubers, and I really enjoyed her content. And she had a video where she was saying about patterns that she will never knit. And she mentioned this sweater, and she mentioned the reason why is because of the sleeves. And when I was watching that video, it was at the time I was redoing my sleeves for like the 5th time. And I was like, oh, I wish I saw this video before I needed this pattern, because don't get me wrong, I love the result and I know it's a super popular pattern and I really like all the versions I've seen on Ravelry, but I just was not a fan of the ribbon around the sleeves, and I wasn't a fan also of how, because the ribbon cinches a lot, and then when you start the lace, it opens again, it creates this weird, it doesn't look that bad after blocking, but it creates these weird proportions of ribbon cinch, then the lace, and then again cinch for the twisted rib that you do for the cuffs. So it's just a little detail, maybe nobody else cares, and after blocking, honestly, it doesn't bother me that much, but it's a little detail that I noticed that I wasn't super happy about, and I will definitely be more careful choosing my patterns in the future to look for little details like that, because now I've finished these, I know it's not quite what I'm looking for. But I'm really happy with the result, especially around the neck, the little details here, how you pick up stitches, and then this is a folded neckline. And I'm super happy on how these turned out. I think it looks really crisp. I was so proud of the way it looked. And I really like the whole body of the sweater. It's just the sleeves that I wasn't super happy about. But overall, I'm proud of this project and I'm super happy I finished it. I think it's also a very weather appropriate garment for the spring here. With the little holes, I do feel sometimes if it's too windy, I get cold because of the wind that comes through. But it is starting to get a little bit warmer here in the UK, so I still think I'll get lots of use. And this color is really, really gorgeous. And I think during the fall, I will be able to also get lots of use out of this garment. So yeah, I still recommend this pattern because she has a full video tutorial that walks you step by step. And her writing style is really good for beginners. She really holds your hand in explaining every detail. This was my first time working with charts, and I learned a lot of new techniques with this pattern. So if you want to experiment with different techniques, I do recommend this pattern, but there's also other options. So if you are like me that get bothered by ribbing around the sleeves, I will also recommend you check other patterns that are have this similar construction where they alternate different techniques. I believe Rebecca Claw has one, PetiteKnit has one. I've seen lots of, I'm gonna try to put a list down in the description of other patterns that have this similar quality that you can experiment with different techniques, but perhaps don't have this issue with the sleeves. So for the cost of these, as I mentioned, I was lucky to acquire both the pattern and the yarn on sale. So the pattern came out to be £4.54, and the Knitting for Ollie Heavy Merino, I bought 9 balls and I only ended up using 8.5. I actually had 10 balls, but I only ended up using 8.5. So I'm considering 9 balls for the total cost, which was 42.66 pounds. So including the pattern and the yarn, it was a great total of 47.20 pounds, which is a really good cost if you compare it to the Frederic sweater. That was 60 pounds and this is a 47, and I think it's a sweater that I will get a lot more use of. So far I've been using it a lot, so I'm sure I will have tons of use and it was totally worth it. The Merino was a really nice yarn to work with. The only thing is, when I was knitting with it, all my dog's hair, by the way, I do have a husky, well, a Pomsky dog, so her hair gets everywhere. And I didn't have this issue with the Peer Gynt, or perhaps it was because of the colors I was using with Peer Gynt, but with this yarn, it was attracting her hair all the time and it was sticking to it while I was knitting, so it was a little bit annoying. But after blocking the garment, I found it doesn't get the same, I mean, I still get her fur all the time, but it doesn't get the same stickiness anymore. And I'm really happy on how it feels after blocking. It is much softer than the Peer Gynt, so I don't have itchiness with it. I do sometimes feel, because of the ribbon here, a little bit of friction, but it's not itchy. It's more like the texture of the ribbon on my neck. I have a sensitive neck, so I feel the neckline, but it doesn't bother me like the Peer Gynt does. So I will definitely recommend the yarn and I will use it again. In fact, I have another sweaters quantity in a different shade that I'm planning to use for a future project. So that's it for my finished objects. So moving on to my whips. I do have to confess that I got a little bit of castanitis during the end of March and beginning of April, and I end up having 5 whips, which is more than I had in the past. One of it is a project I started last year, but it's been kind of on the back burner because I am not enjoying the yarn choice that much. So I love the color, I just don't love the feel of it. So this is the Lulu Slipover by PetiteKnit. It is vest that has a button band around, and then it's held by one button, and it has a very open armhole that I really, really like. So I'm really looking forward to having this finished object because I think it will be really nice to wear. And I love the color. This color is the shade Maroon. I'll speak about the yarn, but I'm just not a huge fan of the mohair. I find it very itchy. So my experience with mohair is limited to a couple only. I've used Isager mohair, and I also use Knitting for Olive in a small project, and I really love those two mohairs. Oh, I also use another mohair for a hat, which was the Sostrene Grene, which was very plasticky, but still not too itchy. But this one, it is the Hobbii Friends. Let me see, I have it here in my notes. It is the Hobbii Friends Kid Silk in the shade 49 Maroon. And the Merino is also the Hobbii Friends Extra Fine Merino, and also the shade 49 Maroon. It is a superwash merino, so that's another thing I haven't been a huge fan of. But I do have to say this is not as squeaky as another one I'm gonna talk about later. So the superfine merino is just fine. It's like a superwash merino, nothing special with it. But the mohair is the one I'm having issues with. I find it really, really itchy. In fact, like it does sometimes scratch my hands, and I think I'm really gonna struggle with the neckline. So I haven't finished the neckline because I'm thinking about knitting the neckline with only the merino. I think it's the only way I'm gonna be able to wear it, because I've tried these on, and even through a different layer, I found it scratchy. So I'm really worried about that. I still want to finish it, and I hope after blocking it will soften up. So we'll see. I will report in a future video. I think this is gonna go back in the back burner because I see this more as a garment I will start using around the fall, the autumn. So I think it's gonna, because of the yarn choice as well, I'm not in a huge urge to wear it. The last time I talked about this project, I only had like half of the back panel. Now I finished the body. Like I finished the back panel, the front panel, and the ribbon sections. The only thing missing is the ribbon that goes around the armholes, and there is a double knitting section for the button band that holds a couple of buttons on each side. I can't remember if it's just 1 or 2 buttons each side. So I'm looking forward to having this garment. I'm just not enjoying the process as much because of the yarn choice. I'm a little bit scared that I won't be able to wear it, but yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. But I don't see this as one of my main whips. Now that I finished the body, I think it's gonna go back into hibernation for a little while. Similarly, another bad yarn choice is this Rikke Scarf that I ended up casting on a trip I did to the, I think I went to the Canary Islands, and I needed a small project, and I didn't have anything on my needles that was small and portable. So I ended up casting on the Rikke Scarf by, I have it here, by Katherine Hannibal at Onling. And I'm using another yarn I bought in another trip to Spain, which is a concept by Katia. It's a baby merino, and it's also a super wash. Oh, this one I really don't like the feeling. It does have a lot more stretch. It feels a little like squeaky, and I really don't like the feeling. I love the color. It's this beautiful bright turquoise, and the reason I chose it is because of the color, but I am not enjoying the knitting process with this one either. And then the mohair I'm using for this, it is the Drops Kit Silk. Yeah, Drops Kit Silk in the shade 24, and also forgot to mention the shade for the baby merino is the color 75. So this kit silk peels a lot, so that is another thing that I'm not enjoying that much. It is not as scratchy as the Hobbii Friends one. I find these, I have heard that for the Drops Kit Silk mohair, it depends on the colorway. Some colorways cannot be really scratchy. I don't find these particularly scratchy, but it's also not the softest. So I don't know about this project. I think I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna carry on, but I'm really not enjoying the yarn, which is another reason why this is not gonna be a priority for me to finish. I have way more exciting projects that I really enjoy the process of knitting with them. So this one hasn't been one of them, and it's also gonna go a little bit on hibernation until I finish my more exciting projects. So yeah, I don't really recommend the yarn. I do recommend the pattern. I think it's a really beautiful pattern. If you like small scarves like me, I'm always looking for projects for small scarves because I do find them very practical in the weather that I live in, and they work really well with my wardrobe. I only have a Sophie scarf that I wear so much, so I really want to have more small scarves in my wardrobe, but I don't know about the yarn choice of this one, to be completely honest with you. So another slight disappointment for the yarn choice. So I am learning a lot, and I think I'm just gonna start being a little pickier when I choose yarn. So for the next project is one that I've been enjoying knitting on a lot. And it is the Tulipan Tee by Lenit or Line Home Samso. I'm sorry if that's not the way it's pronounced. I believe she's Scandinavian. She's from Norway. And I don't know how her name is pronounced, but she's a very popular designer. You've probably seen this t-shirt a lot. It's a very popular one. And it is knitted with the recommended yarn, which is Sandnes Garn Line, in the color Matcha, which is this beautiful green that I've been obsessed with. I've been obsessed with this kind of like mossy or matcha green, so I was super excited to knit with this. It is really soft once it's knitted. I do think compared to knitting with wool, it is much harder on your hands, so I do have to take breaks, and I've been alternating these with the next one that I will also super excited to work in. But I am enjoying the lace so much. I've been using the chart, and I printed the chart so that it was easier for me to follow. And I do think it's a super fun motif, which is this little, I guess it looks like a tulip motif. And it's a really beautiful pattern, and I'm really excited to have this in my wardrobe. I think it will be a really nice garment to wear in the summer. It's soft. I'm happy with my yarn choice. This is the first time I'm using the Sandnes Garn Line. I know it's a super popular yarn for summer garments, so I really wanted to try it. And I've been obsessed with this matcha mossy green color, so I was super happy to get a project in my needles using this color. I've been learning lots of things with this project. It was my first time using a tubular cast on, which was tricky, but I do think it creates a really nice effect in the neckline. It's super stretchy, and yeah, I think I will be using it again. So I was really happy to learn that technique. And also it was my very first time using German short rows, which I also wanted to do. And it was a little bit tricky because the German short rows were on pattern. So where while you are working on the charts, you also have to work out the German short rows on the back. But after, I think it took me 2 attempts. The first time I was messing up the pattern as I was going. But after the second attempt, I was able to complete the chart and the German short rows. And now I'm almost done with the chart lace motif. I think I'm on the last repetition of the lace. So I'm gonna be sad once I continue working in stockinette, but I also super excited to have these in my wardrobe to wear it in the summer. So highly recommend. Love the yarn choice, love the color, love the pattern. Yeah, complete love. And as I said, I've been alternating between this and the next pattern, which is none other than the Winnie Sweater by Lily Kate France. This was my birthday cast on. I'm so excited to finally get to use this beautiful yarn that was gifted to me by my husband in Christmas. So I thought it would be really appropriate to do this as my birthday cast on, which was in April. And I am enjoying it so much. I do think it was a little bit ambitious of me to do this pattern because it's a more intermediate level garment. It does have a lot of shaping. But I just couldn't wait because I've been dreaming about having these in my wardrobe since I started knitting. And I thought my birthday would be a really nice occasion to start with this. I've been documenting the process and I'm hoping to upload the video as a vlog for this sweater. I haven't had a lot of chance to record myself while I'm knitting, but I've been reporting on everything that I've been encountering. So if you want to hear more about it, stay tuned on my channel for an upcoming video vlog on this sweater. But I also, just a quick note on the pattern, I've been loving working with the cashmere, which is such a treat, alternating with this soft squishy yarn after working with the not the tin line, just the line. And it's super nice, but I'm also enjoying alternating between lace and just stockinette. I sometimes do like a couple of rounds in one project and then a couple of rounds in another project, and it feels really nice. And I'm super excited to have both of these projects in my needles, and I would love to have these garments. I do think that the cashmere is not very forgiving with the tension, so I'm hoping it will block a little better. But I can see a little bit of gaps and tension issues, like small details, not too bad, but I'm hoping to not ruin this cashmere with my beginner mistakes. But I do think I will still enjoy having the end product. The design is super beautiful. I'm a little bit nervous about the lace that goes around the neckline. I think it's gonna be tricky and very challenging for me, especially when it comes to attach it to the neckline. So I will try to document that in my vlog so you can see if you've ever been interested in knitting this project, so you can have a reference and watch that video. So nothing but positive things to say about this pattern. Lily Kate France's writing style is I would say a little bit less explicit than Kutova Kika. There's a lot more assumptions of things that you should know. One thing that was tricky for me to follow is that for the shaping of the neckline, there is a table that is in a different page, and then a part of the explanation of the pattern that is in a different page. So just going back and forward between that has been tricky. But her designs are so gorgeous that I think it's totally worth it. And this is the only pattern I have experience with her writing style, so I I cannot generalize. And so far it's been doable, even though it is definitely above my expertise, and it has been a challenging project. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to having this finished object. Forgot to mention the shade that I'm working with is the 564 or Gerbera. The color is this beautiful red, and I love it. And then finally, my last whip is this little scarf that I ended up knitting very spontaneously because I really wanted to work with this yarn. I was looking for a pattern that will be just a triangular, simple stockinette scarf, which is really rare for me because I'm usually always looking for patterns that have a little bit of interest, that are not just plain stockinette. I tend to like texture. But for this beautiful yarn that I bought at the Woolly Good Gathering in Edinburgh, which, by the way, if you haven't seen my previous video, I documented my experience going to that yarn festival in Edinburgh. So you can go and check it out if you are curious about that yarn festival. But I ended up picking up this yarn from a local brand to Edinburgh called Yoler Yarn. And this beautiful shade of olive green, and the base is this luxurious blend with 50% yak and 50% silk, and it's incredibly soft. And I was super excited to try out this yarn, which is the reason why I casted on this scarf. And I found this on Ravelry, this free pattern, and it is the Sigrid Scarf by Ida Byronen. Sorry if I'm butchering that name again. I will pop it up in the screen so you don't have to hear me struggle with it. But it is a super simple scarf that is worked with raglan increases, and you can work it out as long as you want it. And that is exactly the kind of pattern that I was looking to find. I'm knitting off gauge because the pattern is originally written for a DK, and this is a fingering weight yarn. So I am knitting it with a smaller needle size, which I believe is a 3.5. No, it's a 3mm needle. So it is a much smaller gauge, but it's turning out really pretty for the fabric of this yarn. So I am excited to have these also in my wardrobe. So as I said, the last 3 weeks I am super excited to work on. So that's the reason why the first 2 that I talk about are probably gonna go in the back burner because I have my hands busy. Moving on to acquisitions, I do have a lot to share in this section, and it's just because it was a little bit of an unusual month in April, being my birthday, and also because I went to the Woolly Good Gathering. Now, because I already told about the things I bought at the Woolly Good Gathering in my previous video, I'm not gonna repeat myself. So if you're interested to know what yarn I got at the festival, you can go ahead and check out my previous video. So I'm not here forever talking about the same things I already talked about. But I do have quite a lot to share in this video. And then the first acquisition was because of all the hanks or the yarn, the hand-dyed yarn I bought at the festival. I didn't own a yarn winder or a swift, and it is quite hard to wind them by hand. So I was really excited to have a yarn winder and a swift, and I bought a bundle out of Etsy made of wood, and I'm super happy with it. I'm gonna pop up a video of how it is working. I'm excited to have one and my tools, and I'm now happy that I don't have to do that by hand. So super happy with it. I'm also gonna pop up the link there if you're interested to check it out. But yeah, I have nothing else but positive things to say. And then for the next one, I bought this hank or this skein when I was on, we did a little day trip to Peebles, which is a town here in Scotland, which for us is just like an hour and a half away. And I bought this beautiful variegated yarn, which is a blend of 50% mulberry silk and 50% camel. It is incredibly soft, so I couldn't resist myself. And it is in this beautiful kind of orange with purpley beige, I think, colors, which goes really well with the sweater I'm working on, I'm wearing at the moment, by the way. But it's super soft, and another project that I'm looking to have a scarf knitted in, because I think it will be really nice to wear next to skin. The blend of camel and silk is incredibly soft. It has really nice drape, so I'm looking forward to work with this yarn. I've never had camel, I've never touched camel before, so yeah, I was very surprised, and I couldn't pass on the opportunity to have these. So I bought these. It's quite expensive. It was 30 pounds, but I just could not resist myself. So the next acquisition was a birthday gift by my very generous mother-in-law and father-in-law, and it is a sweater's quantity of Cardiff cashmere in this beautiful shade of blue, which is the Persian blue, I believe is the shade 588, and it is gorgeous. So I'm super excited to have these now that I'm knitting with the other project of Cardiff cashmere, knowing that I have more waiting for me to work on a future project. It just makes me super happy, and I'm really excited to have these for a future project. I still don't have an idea of what pattern I'm gonna use for this yarn, but yeah, I'm super excited when that happens. And then finally, also another gift. It wasn't for my birthday, it was just because my mother-in-law, again, she is doing like a spring cleaning in her house, and she's not spinning anymore. She had this spinning wheel, this beautiful wheel that I'm gonna pop a picture there for you because I can't show it here in this space, that she's had. Well, my husband says that he remembers her having it since he was a child, or like since he was around. So I believe she's had it for a while, where in the years where she used to spin. She doesn't spin anymore. So she was very generous and passed down that to me, and I'm super excited to have it. I know nothing about spinning, but I've been really looking forward to learn. And I've had this idea in my mind that I do want to spin my dog's hair eventually to create yarn and then maybe do a project with it. So I've been collecting my dog's hair in the hopes that one day I will learn to spin. And I do think that it's going to be tricky because it's quite shorter than most of the wool you find commercially available, or not even commercially, where you can find to spin with. So I think it's gonna be a big challenge for me, but I'm looking forward to learning that. If you have any recommendations of video tutorials to start learning to spin, please leave them in the comments, because I have no idea where to start, but I'm super excited to get started with that. So I know nothing about spinning wheels, as I mentioned, but from what I understand, the spinning wheel that she gave me is an Ashford Traveler. I can't remember which version is it. I couldn't find anywhere in the wheel, but I think from what I look online, it's perhaps a version 2, but please correct me if I'm wrong. And I found a couple of video tutorials using this wheel. I believe this brand is super popular. It's from New Zealand. So I'm really looking forward to learn to spin, but perhaps I'm also looking to any local workshops where I can go in person, because I do feel kind of intimidated by the wheel, but I'm really looking forward to learn. And that's it for the acquisition section. So if you were here only for the knitting content, thank you so much for coming, and until next time. But if you want to hear about my book updates, you can stick around. So I've been going to a book club every month. So each month we pick a book. Well, we don't pick a book, it's picked by the girls who organize it. And it's really, really fun. I've been enjoying it. I go with my friend. and I've been enjoying going to this book club. So the book that we read last month was Akotar, A Court of Thorns and Roses, for those of you who don't know it, although I doubt it because it's a super, super popular book. It's been on my reading list for a long time, so I was super excited to get to read it for the book club, and I really enjoyed it. I had read before Fourth Wing, which I was a huge fan. I love that book. I didn't like the second and the third that much, but I really enjoyed the first book. So it got me into the whole romantasy genre. And I heard recommendations of people who enjoyed Fourth Wing saying that the next series I should read is Akotar. So it had been on my reading list for a long time. So finally I was able to finish it. I do think it's a little bit of a slower pace, but it is a lot, from what I understand, it is because it's the first book and the following books are really picking up and are meant to be even better. So I'm really excited to continue with the series. And during my book club, I read this book on my Kindle, but during this book club, one of the girls was very generous and she gifted me a physical copy of a special edition, which is a gorgeous hardcover in black with gold embossing. And I am super, super happy that I got to receive this really nice gift from one of the book club's girls, because she heard it was my birthday, and the day of my birthday is when it ended up being the book club. So when she heard it was my birthday, she said that she doesn't have space in her bookcase for this book, but she gave it to me, and I was super happy to have it. It's really, really a gorgeous book cover. So yeah, I found the book to be a little bit slow paced, but I'm really invested in the world now, and I'm really looking forward to read the next one. And I believe the new one, which is the number 6, is coming up this year. So I'm hoping to finish all the books before the new one comes up. And then finally, a new acquisition in the book area is this book, which is more of like a cartoon, what is it called? Like a comic style writing by Gemma Correll. I don't know if you've seen her around on social media. I follow her on Instagram and I love her cartoons or her illustrations. She talks about, or she draws a lot about anxiety and mental health, depression, and I think it's a really good way of connecting to people that also are going through similar stuff. It's kind of a dark humor, but at the same time, it's kind of comforting to know that there's other people going through similar feelings. I've struggled with anxiety, not so much with depression, but with anxiety in the past. And I always feel really connected to her little illustrations, and I really enjoy everything that she shares in her Instagram. I've even found some of her illustrations in some greeting card areas here in the UK. I believe she is from the UK. So in Edinburgh, one day I was browsing around stationery stores and I found some of her illustrations that were part of greeting cards, which are really, really cool. So this book was released the day of my birthday, actually. So it was like a sign for me to get it right away. And it was a gift from me to me. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only like a little bit in. It is kind of a hard read at points because if you connect to it, you can't help but feel emotional. But I also really enjoy her illustrations and the way she has of putting humor into a serious topic, which I think is important in your journey to heal and connect with it. So I really recommend it if you've ever struggled with anxiety, or if you are familiar with her work and you didn't know that she released a book. Yeah, I really recommend it. So that's all I had to share with you today. I'm thinking my next video is going to be another pattern roundup. I can't get off my mind the Marielle blouse, which has been all over social media. You probably have seen it. She just came out with a new pattern, which is the Marielle cardigan, which is this beautiful pointail cardigan in the same lace pattern as her blouse. And I think she's coming up in the summer with a tank top version. So I can't get it off my head. And if I didn't have so many projects on my needles already, I would have already casted on that project. But that is the inspiration I'm having for my next video. Pointail and lace work for end of spring / summer. So I think my next pattern roundup is gonna be about pointail lace work. So let me know if you're interested to have that video next. I'm hoping to record it whenever I have time because it's been so busy. But if you're interested in that, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on that video. And thanks for watching. Until next time, bye!